Take a student with flawless paper credentials, top percentile standardized test scores, and perfect grades. Now place them next to a student whose grades are unremarkable, but who operates with a distinct practical shrewdness, often described as street smarts. To understand how these profiles operate under actual pressure, psychologists Robert Sternberg and Elena Grigorenko propose an abstract cognitive stress test. Picture these two students walking through a forest when a massive, hungry grizzly bear charges directly at them. On this threat schematic, Node 1 applies analytical processing. He calculates distance, rate, and time, determining the bear arrives in 17.3 seconds. Node 2 skips the math, swaps his hiking boots for jogging shoes, and pivots his strategy. Node 1 panics. He tells his friend there is zero mathematical probability of a human outrunning a grizzly bear. His calculation is flawless, but it offers no utility for survival. Node 2 finishes tying his shoes and redefines the problem parameters. He doesn't need to outrun the bear. He only needs to outrun Node 1. The first boy becomes the bear's lunch. The second boy jogs to safety. Real-world threats frequently bypass purely analytical defenses. Standard academic metrics often prove to be incomplete predictors of how an individual adapts to a crisis. Standardized curricula prioritize the specific analytical skills required for Node 1 processing, the ability to decompose a problem and calculate its parts. Relying solely on paper credentials creates a vulnerability once a student leaves a controlled environment. Problems in the field rarely arrive with a predictable variable or a multiple-choice key. In their book, Teaching for Successful Intelligence, Sternberg and Grigorenko present a rigorous empirical challenge to this single-axis pedagogical bias. Their core thesis argues that true, adaptable success requires a triarchy of thinking abilities, an active network of skills rather than a static IQ score. Analytical thinking remains a critical component of this network. However, when isolated from practical application and creative problem-solving, it leaves significant cognitive blind spots. Preparing students for a nonlinear reality requires a pedagogical model that integrates multidimensional cognitive adaptability. The authors define successful intelligence carefully, distancing it from raw, abstract intellect. As outlined in this text box, successful intelligence is a set of abilities used to attain success in life. Point 2 clarifies success is defined strictly within a sociocultural context. It operates by maximizing personal strengths while compensating for inherent weaknesses. Executing this requires 3 distinct pillars of cognitive processing working in tandem. In this triarchic model, analytical intelligence evaluates and compares existing information. Creative intelligence generates novel ideas when standard procedures fail. Practical intelligence executes those ideas, applying common sense to navigate the real world. Intelligence, under this architecture, is an active, integrated toolkit engineered for continuous environmental application. This triarchy of abilities is deployed to achieve 3 specific environmental outcomes. The first environmental outcome is adaptation, adjusting your thinking to fit an existing environment. The second is shaping, modifying the external environment to fit your strengths. The final outcome, it is grounded in hard data, not a philosophical debate about varied learning styles. Rigorous studies demonstrate that triarchic instruction yields superior academic results compared to conventional teaching models that emphasize memory and critical thinking alone. The data reveals a paradox of recall. Teaching specific material through creative and practical applications actually improves traditional rote memorization. By engaging multiple intelligences, students encode information via their strongest natural cognitive pathways, reinforcing the data across multiple domains. Teaching for Successful Intelligence provides a clear mechanism to improve traditional academic performance while simultaneously building real-world resilience. The challenge is moving from psychological theory to the logistical reality of classroom implementation. Sternberg and Grigorenko address this by providing a literal structural blueprint for integrating non-analytical skills into daily teaching. Looking at the book's table of contents, notice the volume of explicit instruction required to build these competencies. The structure challenges the assumption that creativity and common sense cannot be formally taught. The curriculum begins with analytical problem solving, mapping out 7 core lessons on processing and strategy. It then transitions into idea generation, offering 13 specific lessons on creative thinking, including how to redefine problems, question assumptions, and tolerate ambiguity. The final phase focuses entirely on practical execution, dedicating 20 detailed lessons to skills like impulse control, persevering, and translating a plan into a tangible product. An effective curriculum allocates explicit structural time to these creative and practical skills, treating them with the same academic rigor as mathematics or literacy. The culmination of this pedagogical structure is the Triarchic Instruction and Assessment Unit, or TIA. As shown in this chapter outline, a TIA unit systematically isolates these cognitive skills. It targets analytical, practical, and creative intelligences in distinct lessons before synthesizing them. The assessments within these units measure the integration of all three skills in action, rather than testing isolated rote recall. Long-term pedagogical efficacy depends on moving away from the single-axis analytical model. The TIA framework maintains high analytical standards. This model functions as cognitive scaffolding, allowing students with diverse intelligence profiles to access, encode, and master complex material. Redefining intelligence in the classroom gives students a measurable path toward translating academic knowledge into lifelong sociocultural success.